Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Sunday with Jay Barsky. This episode's guest is South Florida entrepreneur Sam Ghanem. Sam is the CEO and creative lead of a printing company called SG Inc. and has 23 years of experience in both print manufacturing and branding. She also owns a business called Let's Go 180 that empowers entrepreneurs in unlocking their brand's potential. You'll hear us talk about her background that led her into entrepreneurship, the services that Let's Go 180 offers, and much more. So, with that being said, I hope you enjoy our Someday with Sam Ghanem. Sam Ghanem, what's up? How you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm great. Glad that you're here. I know you're super busy. Didn't you have like an event this past weekend when one of your like motivational or entrepreneur seminars? Or
So, not this past weekend, but it was February, I believe it was 26th to the 28th.
okay.
Yeah, we had the Entrepreneurial Woman and Legacy Leavers 2-day boot camp.
I know you have a comedy show tomorrow. Is that right? Or
Not tomorrow, the 30th.
30th? Oh,
Yeah,
what's
March 30th. Oh,
uh,
no, I'm lying. I'm sorry. It's out of the norm. I have a comedy show tomorrow.
okay?
Tomorrow, Thursday. Sorry, you know me better than me.
Yeah, I know your calendar.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, are you excited about it?
I am excited about it. It's my first of this type or this style. And I'm going to be on a stage with pretty much 75% new comedians. So it's amazing.
Are you nervous at all?
Very. But I know that nerves and anxiety are all just kind of the same thing in terms of excitement, right? It's just a different way of being excited. So I'm going to tell myself I'm excited.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Thing about me, I don't get a chance to do too many, showcases. Thing is, like, I prefer only because open mics. Depends how I'm feeling that day. I might not, or something might happen, and I like to commit to what I sign up for, and it's just hard. Like, at least with the open mic, you can cancel last minute. You're like, oh, something came up, but like with showcases, like especially if it's your picture on the poster or the flyer, you need to commit to it.
Yeah, I agree. I think you should also commit to things though that you might like most of my greatest memories are the things I thought I didn't want to do in the end. I pursued them and whether it was the event or I met someone that was, life changing or I had a conversation that was, eye opening. I'm not saying push past the point of discomfort in every sense of the word, but
Hmm.
I mean, like if you say you're going to do the thing. And when you're not feeling inspired, do it anyway. And it might turn out that you learned something along the way.
A while back, you did the CEO Power Summit lunch I saw in Las Vegas.
Yeah,
So how was that?
that was amazing. It's with my mentor and business coach, with my business partner, Janelle Kelly. Power Team is a Bill Walsh business. It is an incredibly, incredibly powerful room or rooms of people. It's worth the ticket to Vegas plus, plus, plus. And we spent, 2 days working in ourselves, working in our businesses and on our businesses, but from the perspective of really scaling, not just kind of your day to day ancillary work, but really like what are we going to do to shapeshift this thing to take off into the atmosphere if that's what the objective is. So it was amazing. And I came back with a lot of homework and we started executing while we were there, which
Hmm.
is a similar mindset in both my businesses. Is it's not just like go discover all this information and now what? It's start where you're at, use what you've got and kind of get started. We were on a CEO panel, so we presented a variety of things, some of our favorite books, some of the best advice we've ever received. And then we also shared tidbits about who we are, kind of our magic and some of our goals. It was beautiful. And I actually am blessed because I now have two companies. So I am the CEO and founder of SG Inc. It's a strategic printing company. Our tagline is if you think it, we ink it. And I took my almost 24 years of print manufacturing experience to create a super cool business with my team of 7 to structure a business from any sense of the word. When we use print as our storytelling modality, people think it's a dying breed and quite the opposite. It's likely the most empowered form of technology. Everything and anything in this world is printed. You just have to know what you're looking at. And for me, the most powerful story is a story that speaks to the proper demographic where the messaging is strong and your message lands. So SG Inc. is fostered in strategy. We teach you how to build a story brand and how to use print as your most powerful tool. We support you front to end, any printing modality under the sun, labeling, packaging, signage, banners, merch, swag, hats, to wrapping vehicles, boats. We're doing a van wrap as we speak for a super cool HVAC business. And then my second business with my business partner, Let's Go 180, my business partner, Janelle Kelly, and I really work to get small business owners, entrepreneurs, and leaders unstuck. We find ourselves stuck inside the muck of our day to day, and seldom do we check back in with ourselves. So, what happens there is you end up with lots of leadership who lack congruence. And when we lack congruence, you attract more of it. So, when you lack a congruent message and a heart centered message, you tend to attract a lot of chaos. You say yes to a lot of the wrong things. And in many cases, you don't end up profitable, which is what happened to me. And so we teach two things. We teach a program that came out of Stanford called the Culture Catalyst, which is what Janelle is certified to teach and train in for the last 10 years. And I teach building a story brand and how you use that in your day to day life to market yourself as your most important brand from a space of congruence.
So, how many years has it been since you started SG Inc. and kind of what led you into starting it? Like, were you doing similar business before and you just were kind of working your side business till you were able to take it on full time?
Well, I've been in printing for 24 years. I worked for the same company for 18 and a half, became VP at 25, executive VP at 33, and I could speak to print forever. It's the coolest thing in the world as far as I'm concerned. And I was working on projects for planes, trains, automobiles, electronics, conductive inks, you name it. Very nerdy, nerdy stuff. Engineers taught me everything I know. I changed my educational trajectory to match it so I could do business internationally. So I studied my MIBA at Nova. And then I started my own company thinking that there was a better way of doing things, but I did think, like many of us, that it had to just be a side hustle. What I didn't recognize was in the end, there's room for everyone and that you can grow whatever you want as big as you absolutely want it to be. I don't play small in any respect, so side hustle doesn't work for me. But I never intended to leave my company. I had contracts in place, I had ownership, or so I thought. And so unfortunately, it led me down a path of undoing things that I believed to be factual or contractual, and they weren't. And then I bought a business in 2020. It was probably the wildest ride. It was right before COVID. I learned it was misrepresented financially. Then COVID. So you lose everything and then you lose everything again. Lost my house. My partner moved out with no notice, all the things. And that's actually what led me to uncover the program that Janelle teaches in Let's Go 180, or for us establishing, rather, excuse me, Let's Go 180 through a course that Janelle was teaching. And so, two parts to answer the question. I knew everything I wanted to do could be done better. So that's what inspired me to go out on my own. And then when I think of independence, I don't think independence means isolation. Quite the opposite. I think independence means that I get to go at this life with my friends, with my community, with my interested parties. And I really felt like when you don't have a job that allows you to self lead, you can't actually flourish. You're always leading, but from a place of, it's like they write the book, but you're reading it. You can't author your own book. And unfortunately, I don't mean that across the board at all. I just mean in my particular case, I couldn't have both. I couldn't have a legacy and work for them. I couldn't have self led leadership and work for them. And I certainly couldn't have congruence because I had to embody their values. And respectfully, our values didn't line up. So it was not hard for me to go out on my own. It was scary, but I couldn't imagine today. I never thought as a kid I'd grow up to become a serial entrepreneur. I never thought I'd be like getting my hands dirty with ink one day or selling on a stage the next or potentially writing a book on the third day or like it's incredible. And the last thing I'll say with that is I think a lot of us in our jobs forget that we innately as humans are creatives, but we don't think about it because we don't use them. So we go to work and we do the thing we're told to do or we're paid to do. And then we come home and make dinner for your family, eat, shit, sleep, repeat, right? And I'm here to tell everyone that without a shadow of a doubt, every single human being on this planet's a creative. And being
Hmm.
an entrepreneur will show you ways that you never thought would ever be born. You will do more with less and you'll have a lot of fun. If you're in the right company, you'll have a lot of fun.
Do you read any business books or self-help books that you felt like really helped you kind of being into
Yeah.
an entrepreneur?
Oh, yeah. I was a big reader as a kid and kind of a big nerd in that way. I remember Book It. in school, and I used to love like filling up the pin with like the book at stars and reading all the books. But
Mm-hmm.
as far as self help is concerned, I think a novel is just as much self help as a proverbial self help book because you get to go somewhere in your mind. Some that stand out for me the most, I love, love, love Atomic Habits. That's a
Okay.
book that you should have in your back pocket and as to doing
It's here
life.
somewhere. It's in.
It's in there,
Yeah,
I'm
it's in
sure.
there.
I really, really love Let Them by Mel Robbins, which I'm so grateful that book was authored by someone.
Mm-hmm.
Ironically enough, it's something that it's very much the emotional intelligence that my business partner teaches. So it wasn't a new, it's just packaged in a certain way. Building a Story Brand by Donald Miller really changed the way that I package my offering because I realized I've been doing this since I'm 19. And I love that he says that when you recognize what a story brand is, you'll never look at movies the same because they all follow the same format.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the High Five Habit. The High Five Habit by Mel Robbins is like a delicious piece of art as far as I'm concerned
Okay.
because you'll give out a million high fives to everyone and their mother, but you never high five yourself.
Mm.
And it's the literal practice. The RAS system in your brain can be reprogrammed by high fiving yourself in front of the mirror.
Huh.
I felt like a fool in my apartment living alone. I'd crack up at myself and then had all these weird questions like, do I high five myself in the mirror? Do I have to touch the mirror?
Yeah.
Then I'd wipe my fingerprints off the mirror.
Mm.
And I just realized the idea is to embrace it.
Mm.
I feel like those are all books that, if I were a kid, those would be like the gifts I'd give a kid, and I'd hope that they'd read them
Mm.
forever.
Okay.
Think and Grow Rich is hands down. That's what led me to my business partner, actually.
Mm-hmm.
So
Do you usually read those like self-help, entrepreneurial books, or do you kind of go into other genres as
I
well?
read both because I figured out that those books will keep me up till like 3 in the morning
Mm-hmm.
because I love them. And I prefer to read a tactical book, much like yourself, less
Mm-hmm.
the Audible. I don't know. I don't dislike the Audible or audiobooks.
Mm-hmm.
To the contrary, sometimes both are really great. But because
Reader?
I'm a reader, but I'm a dreamer, and I build things in my mind, and then I execute based on what I read.
Mm-hmm.
So if I'm thinking about it while I'm listening to it, and then I want to execute in my mind and make a note, like I'm not present,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I love
Right.
that tactical feel of like flipping a page,
Yeah.
or tactile rather feel of flipping a
Mm.
page. But I like stories.
Right.
So like Colleen Hoover, she's great. And there, volumes of this book and that book and the other.
Yeah.
But those are still real life as far as I'm concerned. Like
Right.
they're not, I guess I wouldn't say that I don't really read like fantasy so much.
Mm-hmm.
I probably could benefit in getting off of the planet in my mind and reading like some fantasy sci-fi stuff.
Mm.
But it's kind of like the movies I like. I like stories. It's like my
Right.
comedy. I really like stories.
Mm. So I'm a big reader too, but I like to blend either. I try to go like read two books at once. So usually it's something nonfiction and fiction
Right.
because I get tired of like nonfiction because it feels like educational, and that's when it starts getting a little boring to me. So I'm like, okay, now I got to read this mystery book
Right.
or it's just crime. I like crime fiction to like, okay, I'm getting me energized to read again, and then like sometimes I get tired like building an imagination of off of somebody else's words. So then that's when I go back to like nonfiction. Like I'm reading a historical book on 1776, like Day of Independence. So like even though it's a history book and it's like educational, I'll like read it because it's interesting. But like at sometimes I'm like, okay, I want to read like something fictional.
Right.
So did you meet your partner for Let's Go?
So I actually met Janelle at a women's organization called FemCity. It's Women in Business. And we had a couple conversations. I really appreciated her outlook on things. And we just like thoroughly became friends, on the surface, seemingly, right? And then we learned a bit more about one another. I learned about her ER trauma nursing for the last 30 years, paired with creating a very large isogenics teams to then really getting like finding her purpose and transformational training and healing. And I never put those things together with regard to business
Mm-hmm.
until I became an entrepreneur and saw the disconnect. It's like this hat thing we do. We put a hat on at work, we take it off when we come home, we put a new hat on. And like that, it doesn't have to be that way. You can
Mhm.
be like one whole being or one big life, as I like to say.
Mhm.
So I met her, and a few conversations later, I enrolled in a program that she was both leading and teaching, using the Think and Grow Rich as a mastermind. And I don't know, it took on a life of its own. I applied the metrics that I learned in the framework immediately. I had the very beginning of my very, very, very rough undoing of developing a new frame of mind, a new mindset, and detaching from old stories. And then I applied them to my business. Kind of the rest is history in that regard. We hosted our first boot camp together, which was a concept she had had. And next thing you know, we're second boot camp later, third boot camp later. We incorporated last August. We have spoken on a handful of stages. We just spoke yesterday for an event called Empower Her, benefiting the Wayside House. It is a rehab for women that supports women front to end, including their children, both inpatient, outpatient, philanthropy, community. I mean, it's a way of living as far as Wayside's concerned.
Mhm.
So Janelle and I hosted a beautiful room and really led with some thought leadership and actionable steps, and really bringing people to the present to think about, what's one thing you're going to do today to shift in the direction that you desire, and not in a way that sounds like I'm going to go play the lotto. Like you can, but more like legitimately speaking, when was the last time you sat with yourself and thought of who you were before the world told you who you were? What are you going to do with that? So pretty much from the Let's Go 180 side, we have a wildfire mission to work with as many entrepreneurs and leaders as possible to really show them that there is an alternative way of doing business, and that life does not need to be a series of burnouts and then healing and then burnout and then healing. You can get out of that race. You can stop operating from scarcity, lack, and fear. You can have fun.
Yeah, that's awesome. And you've been having fun with some other stuff, like you started doing stand up. I don't, is it a year now? Or I don't know how
Yeah, like
long.
a year and a half.
Oh, okay. Are you able to kind of, now that you know how to write jokes, are you able to add any humor into your speaking events?
Very much so.
Okay.
I think that came before I knew how to write jokes, and I don't even know that I know how to write jokes per se, but I'd say that I finally find a place where I can play a little. So even when the times are really serious, you know, most of the time in an appropriate fashion, figuring out like you get to play a little,
Mm-hmm.
or that conversation that we wanted to make you take a hard left that day,
Mm-hmm.
finding that not the silver lining constantly to dig it up, but to really shift your perspective and be like, man, if I said to someone, if I shared with someone what just happened, like they would lose it laughing.
Mm.
And finding that, also working with David and Sad Man Comedy, both cafe and productions, and most certainly Michael with the Panzika approach and just that entire collective community, which is where we met, realizing that with the right community, it's all possible. And again, it's not a codependent thing. It's like be in a room where people invite you to get curious, be in a room where people invite you to try new things, be in a room where it's not possible to look like a fool. Like you literally can't fuck it up.
So what made you just decide to get up there? I mean, you've been, you go to a lot of the shows. Did you kind of just get tired to be in the back and want to join in?
Well, David started out as a client, so we do all the branding and printing for Sad Man. When he just had his production company, I say just, but my God, really created like a beautiful, like wow,
Oh yeah.
it spearheaded a lot. And he's amazing. And we started out as from a working relationship, and then funny enough, we're both Lebanese. We had that connection, and then seemingly, I think he saw in me things I didn't see, which is what happens when you have some real friends in your corner. And
Mhm.
he was opening up the comedy cafe, which has become like my second home,
Mhm.
and working with Mike to be, the instructor for the comedy workshops. And he honestly signed me up without saying anything to me. He just kind of like really drove it home. It was one of the greatest gifts, really. And it was like, you're never going to find the time, create the time, enough of the bullshit. And when I tell you, like, I had no fun, like, I couldn't even find fun in my work. I just wasn't in that space.
Mm, okay.
And so I basically got voluntold. And that is truly the rest is history.
Mm.
Those guys are never getting rid of me. I love them more than I can say. And it's proven to be a beautiful, beautiful platform for me to spearhead my businesses, for me to work in myself, for me to foster, new skills and confidence, and to also just let go of some shit.
Mm-hmm.
And what better way to do it? Like, give me a mic. I'm making fun of my parents. Done.
Yeah.
Like, there's no boundary there.
Yeah. I actually haven't got a chance to see you do stand up. Like, do you have like a 10 minutes now, or are you
Yeah,
still okay?
about there. We'll
Uh,
find out tomorrow.
are you doing 10 minutes?
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe I'll try to go to that show tomorrow night. So have you been hitting up a lot of other open mics
I
or?
haven't done a single open mic. So between the work at the workshops and work in our businesses and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
it's been chaotic, but I'm going to tell you that I am happy to publicize and manifest that I am going to start going to open mics at the
Yeah.
end of the month. I already put it on my calendar
Okay.
and I need to just, not I need, I get to, and it's
Mm-hmm.
something that I know will really, really help me hone in my skills and just practice because everything in life is about the reps, right?
Right. I just started reading like new 5 minutes and trying to like write another like 5-10 minutes, but I'll start taking you or inviting you to other
Yeah.
open mics. So I usually ask my guests, like, I'm sure you go through tough times or rough times with your job. Do you, any times you feel stressed, do you have anything to do to relieve that stress?
Yeah. I go for a lot of walks. I walk like I don't own a car. Every single day I start with a walk. I do a 5K every morning. That it was a way that I taught myself to invite ease into my life because I lift a lot, or I did. I haven't lifted much lately, and I run a lot. I love that rigorous. I love hit training. I've done all the DECA races. I did bodybuilding for a couple years. Like I love all that,
Mm.
but it is rough. And I was like, man, why is everything in my life like rough and tough and hard and
Mm-hmm.
hustle and it hurts?
Mm-hmm.
So walking is like a non-negotiable. I journal every single morning,
Mm-hmm.
non-negotiably. I have at the beginning I was using prompting journals. So last year I had a journal that was called, I believe it was called Best Day Ever.
Mm-hmm.
It was beautiful. I got both of them actually. And it was the first journal I'd ever completed front to end. And I did it 365. I did it for an entire year. And so today I do use the journaling prompts that are in the iPhone and I tailor them a bit. And then I spend that time goal setting. And every single day I write down 10 goals. 10 goals for that day. That's that.
Mm-hmm.
It's different than my to do list. I don't reference back the day before.
Mm-hmm.
Today, what's on the docket today?
Mm-hmm.
It could be drinking a gallon of water. It
Mm-hmm.
could be making the 3 miles 4.
Mm-hmm.
It could be pausing. And it could also be following up with said client, send all my headshot, do this, that, the other thing. And
Mm-hmm.
I don't hinge on the success of that list so much as I'm like, these are the 10 things that get done today.
Mm.
And I mix it up with things for me, things about me, things for business. Because some days your greatest success is completing that gallon of water or going for that walk.
Mhm.
And the last thing I'll say is, I really find that a great way to decompress before bed is to read.
Mhm.
Like, I don't care if it's 5 pages,
Mhm.
and probably not your self-help book.
Mhm.
Probably go down the discovery roll of
Mm.
get off your phone, like literally 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And I'm a person in the end. So I'm talking 80% of the time.
Mhm.
Like, cut this shit, get out of your phone. Go to bed 10 minutes early, read for 10 minutes. Like, nothing bad's going to happen. If you go for a walk,
Yeah.
if you journal, if you use goal set, and if you read,
Yeah.
nothing bad's going to happen.
I love reading till I go to sleep. I mean, I have to be real. Like yesterday was a pretty busy day, and like that, I didn't end up reading till I slept because I was just so tired
Right,
that like I just needed I knocked out right away. But I usually like, especially if it's like I usually get up like 4 or 5 in the morning to go work out in the gym.
right.
But like if I don't have like a gym day in the morning or a workout, I'll read till late at night. Like wait, because I usually try to go to bed like 8:30, 9 o'clock. But like say it's a Friday night or something, Saturday weekend, I'll read till like 11 o'clock. And if
Yeah,
I'm really like deep in a
yeah.
book, but yeah, I love reading to go to sleep. So you mentioned like some routines already. Do you have any additional special routines that you follow throughout your day or your week?
I mean, I just do a lot of checking in with myself, like a lot, like potentially obnoxious amounts of checking in with myself. And I literally like a Dropbox all day long. Like, are you good? What do you need? You all right? Take a beat. Stand, sit, like walk, like honestly. And probably for me, most of us walk around in the world holding our breath.
Mhm.
And I'm still learning. So I think we're always a student, really. If you're doing it right, you're always a student.
Mhm.
And I think that my innate nature isn't to like take full breaths to really exhale,
Mhm.
to like just like take a beat. And so all day long, I'm checking in with myself. And I guess I would say that giving myself permission to do so, because we check in on everyone else, we water everyone else. And I mean it, like literally, go drink some water, go for a walk, take a beat, check in with yourself, you know?
So do you have any practices yourself that help motivate you that you can recommend for our listeners?
I mean, a bit of a melding of everything I expressed, but also like think a bit outside of your most obvious. Like if my background is in print manufacturing, branding, strategy, growth, mindset, messaging, but I have other interests. I love the gym.
Mhm.
Research other things, other brand new things. Recently, I've decided I wanted to learn how to play the piano.
Mm.
So I've never touched a keyboard or a
Mhm.
piano for that matter. And I have a friend who wants to voluntarily teach me. Like, I just need to
Mhm.
create the time.
Yeah.
But I find myself like exploring new music. And it sounds so ridiculous. You're like, you're listening to music. Yeah. A new tune, a new riff, a new sound. Suddenly, my cadence in my day moves me differently. I feel more
Mhm.
inspired because I'm incorporating something new with something that is already like a
Mm.
habit that's stacked.
Yeah.
And on that end, learning how to take something that you don't really love and stacking it with a habit that you either like, love, or you're acclimated to, your exponential growth is undeniable. And I wasn't sure about it. So I tracked it all year last year. And when I saw my year to date, I blew my own mind about how much I had achieved. And what was so nice was I didn't attach to the external outcome, and none of those had to do with money.
Mhm.
They like, of course, that
Mhm.
came because of all the other things. But detaching from the external and just being like, how can I attach this thing that I don't love doing with this thing that I do anyway? And play a little, try new things like
Mhm.
food, try
Mhm.
new foods,
Mhm.
have a conversation like this,
Mhm.
come in a little unprepared and be like, okay, I'm here and this is the thing
Mhm.
we're going to do.
Mhm.
Right. And just stay curious because you will find so many nuggets along the way that are, unapologetically motivating.
You mentioned Atomic Habits, like the
Yeah.
book gave me the idea like going to the gym has always been like mediocre for me. Like I never looked at it as like a fun thing to do. And then but I like listening to podcasts, but it gets boring just me like I don't really like just to sit down and listen to podcasts or
Right.
like drive a little bit. So what I started doing was listen to podcasts when I go to the gym, and now I love going to the gym. That's like
So
my
good.
excuse to like go to the gym and even stay long if it's a podcast I'm really into.
Yeah.
But now like that's kind of like I've always like thought mediocre about going to the gym, but now that I combine that habit, now it's like I wake up in the morning, I gotta go to the gym. Now I got that addictive behavior to like just keep going to the gym.
Right.
But yeah, I love that. Are you working on anything that our viewers should keep an eye out for?
Yes, we have an incredible event coming up in June. I'm waiting to finalize the dates, but likely early June. It'll be at a 2.5 day long summit. It's an extension of the idea that was born in the entrepreneurial boot camps and giving you a space to really work on and in yourself, but take immediate action in the right room, workshop, breakout rooms, and so on. It is truly an elevated event. It is for any small business owner, entrepreneur, or leader in the for profit or nonprofit space. We're working on a few things right now to partner with local cities and chambers and just kind of stay on the lookout. I'm happy to send you the link to the landing page to share on the episode also. And it's in development in the next week or two, though. It's like it's happening.
Thank you for, sharing all that. Yeah, last question I have is Sam, do you have any final thoughts you want to leave with our viewers?
I just think try to reframe the way we use certain language. We don't always feel like we're, you know, I'm not sensitive, but the self help ideals. or the self-love ideals and this language,
Mhm.
sometimes for some of us it makes us feel like it's a season, and in reality it's kind of forever.
Mhm.
And self-love and self-development or self-help isn't a diagnosis, it's an invitation.
Mhm.
And just you're the biggest, most important project. And it's not to be cliche and not to be like so tree huggery, but it's the truth.
Yeah.
And if you just took small reps and poured in 5% more and paused with yourself for 2 minutes longer, small, tiny shifts all day long,
Mhm.
those small deposits will increase your life exponentially. And then you can pour out even more into the people, things, places, and experiences that you already do.
Mhm.
And it is cliche, and I'm okay with it in that regard.
Mhm.
But it is the truth that, like, the only thing you can't get back is time.
Oh, that's awesome, and thank you for that message. I think our viewers will sponge it really well. But Sam Ghanem, thank you for everything. I appreciate you making the time coming out here and just like sharing about yourself and like practices. I think our viewers would appreciate it. But thank you so much on joining me on Sunday with Jay Barsky.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for listening to our episode with Sam Ghanem. Follow her on all her socials, which you may find in the episode notes. I hope you enjoyed our episode. Please rate and comment on the podcast to help make it grow. If you wish to follow me, all my socials are at I am Jay Barsky. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you soon.